see it a lot in my clients or even in friends. They get so caught up into client work, into the demands of the job, and saying, okay, I need to do that, and I can't plan. And yes, maybe I'll go to my CrossFit class at night, but maybe if there's something coming up, I'm not going. So how do you make sure that you really prioritize and set those boundaries and saying, okay, I'm available from there to there, and I'm not available here?
You have to be very strict, and you have to put yourself first, because you'll be no good to your family, to your clients, to your career, to your job, to anything if you're not healthy, fit, and mentally there. So mine is that I wake up in the morning for my morning prayer at around 5:30, and then you have to do what works for you. For me, it's about accountability. So I get my personal trainer to be at my doorstep at 6:00 in the morning, because then I can't say I'm tired, I'm not going to go to this CrossFit class, oh, I'll do it later, I'll wake up half an hour. There's no excuses. There's a person downstairs that's got out of bed.
Everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Habitolic podcast. I'm Dr. Kerstin, a former cardiac surgeon and your portfolio career strategist. And today I'm joined by an incredible, beautiful, energetic woman. It's Fazeela Gopalani. So glad that I have you here, and we will talk about all things her journey. She's a partner at EY. She founded Women in Finance. She was recognized by Forbes as one of the 100 most powerful businesswomen in 2024. I promised you that will be a great episode, so stay tuned. So Fazeela, welcome to the show. So great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's my pleasure, and I think my audience will love your energy as much as I did when we first met, so it's great to have you. And I touched upon a couple of your, probably not the milestones, but a couple of stops on your journey, but I think you can probably tell us your journey a lot better than I can. So it would be great if you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your journey, where you're coming from and where you're at the moment.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So yes, my name is Fazeela Gopalani. I am a mother of 2 teenage kids, a wife to an amazing husband. I'm a partner at EY, where I'm heading up EY Academy, where we support organizations with talent development. Mm-hmm. At my core, I am a finance professional. Born and raised in the UK. Parents were immigrants. They came from Malawi, which is one of the poorest countries in Africa. Mm-hmm. And our great-great-grandparents were from India, so in Indian origin. I've been living in the UAE for 17 years now. Wow. So this is home. Birmingham is no longer home.
Maybe start when we go back to you as a little girl and go back to little Fazeela. What would she have thought where you would be today?
That's such a difficult question, because actually all I wanted to do was be like my father, follow in his footsteps and make him proud. So when he said I was going to do A-levels, there were business studies, accountancy and economics, I didn't even think twice, because I didn't even know what I wanted to do myself. When he said you're going to University of Birmingham to do an accounting and finance degree, that was it. I said, yes, father. So I was a very obedient daughter.
Okay, so interesting, because for me it was always probably doing the exact opposite of what my parents told me to do. They said, no, go into law, not in medicine. Yeah, I went straight to medicine. No, don't go to South Africa. Of course I went to Cape Town. So that's so interesting.
Yeah, no, I was a very obedient daughter. And then I left university and did want to work for the Big Four, mm-hmm. as we all do if you've done an accounting mm-hmm. and finance degree. I had accepted an offer at Arthur Andersen. Mm-hmm. And we all know what happened to Arthur Andersen in September 2001.
Probably not all of them know that, because not all of them are as probably old as we are. So maybe a quick overview.
Well, they collapsed and I didn't have a job. My father was over the moon, because that meant I would join his accountancy practice. So he had a small, medium accountancy practice where he was an auditor doing management accounting, advisory services and tax services for many clients in the West Midlands area. 3 years after working with my father, and I worked with him side by side, he passed away from pancreatic cancer. And at the age of 23, I was given a choice of what am I going to do now with regards to the practice.
So what did you decide?
It was a very difficult decision because there was fear, but there was also determination. Fear because I was scared. Would I be able to continue his legacy? And determination that he had worked so hard to build this accounting practice. How could I just let it go? And I decided to embark on the most difficult task of my life till that date, which was to manage the firm. It's 20 staff, it's 350 clients.
Wow.
And run the practice.
How was that? Because I didn't start at 23 and I didn't start at the top. So by the time I finished med school, I was 25 when I started my first job in cardiac surgery. And that was probably the same male-dominated environment that accounting is and you face. But I started at the lowest point. I started at the bottom. So how was that leading probably a bunch full of men that weren't used to be led by a woman? So how did you cope and what did you do?
It wasn't an easy ride. I was 23 years old and I had to become a leader. And I'd only had 3 years of work experience. I was only part qualified, so I hadn't even finished my professional qualification. And it wasn't just that it was difficult leading the staff, it was about earning the trust and confidence of the clients.
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, I put on my armor every morning when I got dressed. I put on my armor and I felt like I was going out to war and fighting every day. Secondly, I always just listened to what my clients' needs were and never told them I had the answers. I'd say if I didn't know the answer, I'll go find out the answer and I'd get in touch with subject matter experts that would guide me. And thirdly, I had to earn their trust. And to earn trust, you have to deliver, you have to perform. And when they saw I was delivering and performing, their confidence in me increased. And that's how I managed the whole firm for 7 years.
Wow.
At the core of it, imagine this, I was sitting in my father's desk day in, day out, filling his shoes, which were huge. And it kept me close to him in a way because I wanted to be a leader like he was, but then I also wanted to be Fazeela. And that's very interesting dynamic. The core of my father's leadership was servant leadership. He was humble and he was authentic and he went out of his way to help others. And that's what are the key characteristics that I took away into my sort of whole leadership style.
Interesting. And how was it with the staff? Because I can only imagine when you come there and said, okay, so we are doing the job now and I'm your boss. And probably you didn't say it that way, but I'm the boss and you follow me now. Were they happy? Did they maybe go to work for someone else, or how did that work out?
Yeah, one of the staff members left, set up his own practice and took about 20 clients with him. And that was within the first 3 months. I lost a lot of clients in the first couple of months. I used to dread opening the post because there'd be a letter that somebody else has left. And that's another reduction on your income level. Leading that team, I had to do it with humbleness. I had to win their confidence that I was not above them. I wasn't a senior. I'm part of them. Together, we're running this practice. Together, we're going to make it survive. You've been here longer than I have. So let's do this together. It's a partnership. And that's the way I went and managed most of those grown men who were in the firm with me.
And where did you take your resilience and your confidence from? Because we know probably when we think back at when we were 23, so the insecurities about the way we look, about who we are, not even matured yet probably with such a young age. So where were you certain that you can manage that and that you didn't break and said, oh no, you know what, I'm leaving that. So I'm not done for this.
I'm a practicing Muslim. and I have a strong faith in God. Resilience came from losing a father at 23, and my father was my world. And to have lost him just all of a sudden strengthens you. And I think, and I do believe my whole resilience throughout my career and my life has become because I lost him at such a young age. Confidence, goodness, confidence takes time. You go into a meeting and it's not easy to present to grown millionaires who are grown men who are millionaires to talk about their annual reports. But my confidence came from my technical knowledge, being a chartered certified accountant. And the minute I got my ACCA membership, those 4 letters are what gave me that confidence because I was technically competent. I knew what I was doing.
It's great. And I think that's probably a lot of women struggle with, like being the leader and being confident in themselves. And even though, as you said, you did it before you had those letters. Yeah, those letters might help, but I don't think that they were responsible for your success, because I see it a lot with my clients as well. They say, yeah, I just need that certification. I just need that. And then I will apply to the next job or for the promotion or whatsoever. And I think, and your journey shows that you have to be confident in your ability and what you can already do and not relying too much on those letters. Of course, they matter. And of course, it gives you probably your right, like, yeah, what do you think of your own, like the right to be there, but I think for the outside world, how you show up and how you lead and how you treat them is much more important than any certificate or any 4 letters are.
If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. I prepared consistently before meetings. I made sure I knew everything about that client. Showing up, but being there, present within the meetings and speaking with eloquence, speaking with confidence and being articulate, being able to tell a story. All those really helped with the whole confidence, because when you can tell a story on their annual reports and they're sitting there listening, waiting, and you know, the $1 million question always comes out, and you'll understand this. But I made £10 million profit. Why do I not have £10 million in the bank? So preempting the sort of questions they were going to ask. So a lot goes in giving you confidence is preparation.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so important because people ask me in cardiac surgery as well, so why I'm so confident going into. And I said, yeah, because I have plan A, obviously, but a lot can go wrong in cardiac surgery. So I have plan B to Z in my head as well. And although maybe it's another plan I have to draw from, because it's not even plan B to Z, but something else. But I can draw on the experience I have in creating those plans and what to do and decide quickly. And I think that's something, especially when you go into a high responsibility at a young age, you're really, that's what you have to do. And that's what gives you confidence then as well. But when you moved on, you said you did that for 7 years. So what changed after 7 years?
Then my husband said he wanted to move from the UK to Dubai, the land of opportunities.
That was when? It was in
2008.
Okay, yeah.
Financial crisis. Yeah. And he brought me out here. By then I'd had 2 kids, a daughter and a son. Our son was 9 months old. Our daughter was 2 years old. And I came out here to see Dubai, and I realized that maybe I needed to take this leap of faith and start afresh in a new country, a new life, as there was a lot of emotion back home and I wasn't sort of moving on from the death of my father. And I just saw Dubai and I thought, okay, this is a new start for my family.
How did you move, or how did you get a job? So what were you searching for? Because running your own show to then, okay, what's next? Do I go for my own business, or what did you
get
do?
it, exactly. So I came out and I thought, I'm not going to work for a year. I'm going to take some time off and be with the kids, because I'd started to work the day after my father's funeral and I'd never just not stopped. So I took a year off and I did everything that people do when they come here. They learn Arabic, they do horse riding, they do all the things that Dubai has to offer. I then actually didn't even last a year. I probably lasted around 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
And I was like, I need to do something. I can't just be doing this. So I actually then started freelance training. So I started training for ACCA exams in tax because that was my specialism, and financial reporting. From there, one thing led to another. I started training for MBAs, British MBAs on their finance module here and in Beirut and in Abu Dhabi. That led to corporate training. So I started doing a lot of training for big clients who used to send their teams over to the UAE for a 5-day course on finance and non-finance. From there, I got approached by ACCA, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, and I was with them for 10 years, where I was the head of education and then head of market. So heading up 22 countries in the end, Middle East and Eurasia, where ACCA was all about supporting the development of the accounting profession. And now I'm here at EY as a partner, heading up an academy where I'm building a new sort of service line. We've done training and development before, but now at EY, I'm heading up an academy where I'm supporting organizations with talent development. I'm building a team. I'm building new training programs, looking at new partnerships with universities and professional bodies. So it's such an exciting time right now for me in this part of my career.
Oh, perfect. And how did you decide on the opportunities? Because when I give you a background why I'm asking this, because oftentimes when I talk to successful people, they kind of say, oh yeah, it just happened to me and I just took the opportunity and there was no planning and something like that. But I don't get that, because I think we do plan what the plan is and what the outcome then is. That might look different, but how did you decide which opportunity? Because I think there probably our guests, there probably were a couple of more opportunities that came your way. How did you decide which one to go for and what you want to do?
I left because ACCA was a not-for-profit. I had young children and I had a decision to make, that was I going to focus on my corporate career, or was I going to have a career but be a mum first? And that was the most important thing, being a mother. So ACCA, I did 10 years at ACCA. That's a decade in 2 roles, 3 roles. And I made an intention to stay there until my children were going to go to university. I am ambitious. And I read a wonderful book and I love this. I call myself unapologetically ambitious.
Okay. I love that.
Exactly.
I love that.
Isn't it great?
Absolutely. I have to read that. I haven't read it yet.
Shelley Archambault, really good book. Okay. Unapologetically ambitious. And she talks a lot about planning your career. I hadn't started to look out because I had just got my 3rd role in looking after Eurasia with ACCA. But I did know that I had a couple of more years left in me. And then there was something else I wanted, because it's about having a challenge. Now my kids are older. They're both going to be at university in the UK. I have more time in me and I needed another purpose. I needed another drive. I needed another new venture that excites me. Because never has there been that I've woken up in the morning and thought, oh, got to go to work today.
I mean, not today. No. Wow. All right.
Because I love what I do.
I do love what I do as well. But some days are better and some days are worse.
Okay, maybe when I'm at 4 o'clock in the morning at the airport going to Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, oh,
6 a.m. flight.
Seriously, exactly. The 6 a.m. flight with all the consultants. I'm like, oh, goodness, what am I doing with my life? But no, alhamdulillah, I really do love my work. It gives me a sense of purpose. And at the end of the day, when I come home, I've got this sense of fulfillment that I've done something amazing today. And that keeps me going.
Okay. So the decision was, to sum it up, so to some extent strategic and to some extent probably just going with what feels right, or?
yes, following your gut, but you've got to make a decision with your heart and your head. And you've got to think ahead. Can't just sit and think something's going to land on your lap, right? And you've got to think about, what is my next move? I do believe doing the same role for about 5 years is the maximum. And then you start getting bored and itchy for a new sort of role. And so you do have to plan. You can't just sit there and just be complacent.
No, definitely not. And I can totally relate to that. So, and I don't know, because I'm asking myself a lot, why am I different to other ones that just have one job? And I was the little girl dreaming of being a cardiac surgeon. That was like, okay, I've seen myself doing that for the rest of my life. And then after 12 years, I was like, no, I achieved it all. I need a new, and there I needed a new purpose. I need the new challenge. And then after that, I changed every 5 years probably as well, into new challenges. But I don't know what makes people different, like you and me, and there are others out there. We are not exclusive, but I don't know. So how was it for you? Was there is it one moment where you think, oh no, I need something new, I need to do something else, or one realization, or one day you wake up and said, oh yeah, I'm successful on paper, but I need more?
That's a really interesting question. I have this inner need to prove that I'm capable and competent, because at 23, I had to take over running a firm.
Yeah.
And in that, I had to keep overproving myself that I could do this, that I was capable and competent to be leading a firm. And then if you look at the different roles that I've taken on, I have really pushed myself to excel in them. I also have this driving force of, I want to be a role model to other girls from my background, that you can have it all, that you can have the children, the husband, and the career, and, love exercising and have that spiritual fitness and have a strong faith. And that also keeps me going, because I want my daughter to see me as her role model. And I think that's where the drive and the ambition comes, to keep excelling, to keep being the better version of myself.
So you touch upon the have it all, and that's obviously the title of the podcast, because
I love the title of that podcast
about having it all. And I hate that some people say, no, you can't have it all, especially as a woman, you can't have it all. We just have one life. If we don't have it all in this life, we are screwed, because we don't get another chance on it. So we have to have it all. So you touched a bit upon what have it all means to you, but how do you make sure that you can have it all?
I think the core of having it all is ensuring that you've got peace and contentment, and that it's not always about success. It's about joy and happiness, and a deep sense of purpose as well. That what are you doing also within those things that I mentioned earlier, to help others, to inspire others, to do good for others. I would say the art of delegation is important. Compartmentalization and having a plan. So sitting down and putting your life in boxes on a sheet of paper, right? It's you as Dr. Kerstin or Fazeela. It's your family, your children, your husband. It's your spiritual fitness. It's your physical fitness. It's your career. Everything's in boxes. And no, Rome wasn't built in a day. And there are sometimes some take more priority over the others. I don't believe in there's this work-life balance. It's work-life integration. Yep. There are weeks that are intense, and then there are weeks where I'm more present. And that's the way it's going to be when you have a career and you have a family to manage. But it is so possible to have it all. So possible. And that depends on you and how you prioritize and manage your life and all those boxes that rotate around you.
So how do you do it when you say the boxes and how they rotate? Do you assign like specific times in a week, like plan you down to timings when it's my me time, or when it's sport, or when it's spiritual time, when it's work? So how do you do that?
You should see my Outlook. My diary.
Do you use different colors, or how
yes,
should I imagine that?
I do. I use different colors. Green for personal. All the friends' dinner plans are in there weeks in advance. Anyone knows if they want to invite me over, they've got to give me at least 4 weeks' notice to put it in the diary. Yes, I color code my time in the morning to pray. My time in the morning to go to the gym, my time in the morning to not speak to anyone before 9 o'clock.
Glad we are recording at 10:30, so we are glad that you're speaking to us.
Time with my children, time in the evening for my husband, to watch a documentary or a movie, weekends, time even for my praying. So as Muslims, we pray 5 times a day. And if you see my diary, there is a slot for my afternoon, mid-afternoon and evening prayer put into the diary, and that time's protected. And it's only takes 15 minutes, but even that's planned. As I said earlier, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So I am a planner.
I like that because I'm a planner as well. So that's probably why I have designed the Have It All journal, because it's all about planning. So, but a lot of the times, and just to give some advice to people out there who kind of have difficulties prioritizing themselves, because I see it a lot in my clients or even in friends. They get so caught up into client work, into the demands of the job, and saying, okay, I need to do that, and I can't plan. And yes, maybe I'll go to my CrossFit class at night, but maybe if there's something coming up, I'm not going. So how do you make sure that you really prioritize and set those boundaries and saying, okay, I'm available from there to there, and I'm not available here?
You have to be very strict. And you have to put yourself first, because you'll be no good to your family, to your clients, to your career, to your job, to anything if you're not healthy, fit, and mentally there. So mine is that I wake up in the morning for my morning prayer at around 5:30, and then you have to do what works for you. For me, it's about accountability. So I get my personal trainer to be at my doorstep at 6 o'clock in the morning, because then I can't say I'm tired, I'm not going to go to this CrossFit class, I'll do it later, I'll wake up half an hour. There's no excuses. There's a person downstairs that's got out of bed and that is
and
waiting to train. Yeah, and that you're paying for. So it's non-negotiable. Yeah. And I think that's what is the key, that you have to make it non-negotiable. It has to just be put in your life, and it's about making it a habit then. Once you've done it for a certain amount of time, it's set, and now I can't do without that in the morning. The same for my prayer times, or the same for my evenings. Yes, there are nights that I work till late and then I don't get my own time, but I make sure then in that week, where can I get an hour or two in the evening for myself, just to de-stress and just take it easy and be present. And I think that's ever so important, especially now in this fast-paced environment that we're living in. We've got to take care of ourselves first.
Absolutely. And I love that my audience hears this not only from me, because they're always like, she's saying that. But I love that other people are doing it as well, people. And I think that's important, because what I discovered when I made a switch from cardiac surgery to consulting, and obviously I was probably the only one that thought consulting is a walk in the park and not a so stressful job, because I came from a different level. And but what I noticed is that people think that it's the end of the world to not be in one meeting, or to not put in the hours, or whatsoever the belief is. But we have to think about the longevity of our careers and of ourselves as well. As you said, you can't perform at 100% if you're not taking care of yourself. And on the other hand, no one is dying. Yeah. So yes, there might be an urgent demand, and yes, we assess that. We think, okay, what can we do about that to make the client happy, but to make us happy as well? And then in probably 99% of the cases, you find a solution that's good for everyone, instead of running around like headless chickens. And it's like, oh yeah, we have to do that, produce another 100 slides during the night, and be useless in the morning. And so I think that prioritization, to get that right and to get get that into your head. And I promise you, it's getting easier the more you say no, because you notice that actually it's not the end of the world and nothing really happens. And as I always say, no one dies. So that's important. And so I'm glad that someone else is telling people that as well.
I also only do 30-minute meetings unless
I love that.
something really needs to be done and it'll take 45 minutes. I try to avoid these 1-hour meetings. I just don't think they're productive.
No.
You should just go in, get straight to the point. What is it that we need to do? And it's also within my career, and if I look at my days, it's about productivity and outcome and impact. That's so important. There's no point sitting there just for 30 minutes having a good chit chat. What is the outcome of it? What's the deliverable out of this that we need to be producing?
Yeah,
and
sometimes people don't understand what's actually the purpose of the meeting.
Yeah.
So it's a meeting to have a meeting because we should meet up. We are a team. So let's meet up for that project. But what's the purpose of the meeting?
Yeah. And always have an agenda for the meeting.
Yeah.
Always have a plan.
Yeah.
What is it? Why did you set up this meeting? And come to it with 3 points. I'm also a firm believer of the magic 3s. Julius Caesar said, I came, I saw, I conquered. So in a presentation, in a conversation, in a meeting, it's all about three magic points, 3 magic things.
Okay, it's nice. I just thought about do one, see one, teach one. That was kind of the principle in surgery. Maybe I shouldn't say that for all the patients out there. That's like the 3s of surgery. So, and I actually wore my t-shirt today for womankind. And obviously I'm all about female empowerment. And you said you want to inspire the next generation as well. So what have been your learnings or the helps you had on your journeys, being it mentors, being it lessons or principles that helped you like rising as a woman in male-dominated industries, because finance is male-dominated as well?
Many points here, but I'll condense them.
3. We heard the rule of 3.
First of all, sponsorship and mentorship. And not only by women, for women. We live in a male-dominated society, and the corporate world is male-dominated. You need mentors who are males in your life. So there could be a couple of male and female mentors, and I don't think you only need one mentor. Having 2 within the firm, 2 out of the firm, and then that's 1 male, 1 female is so, so important, because having the male perspective also helps you understand what do you need to do in that firm or in that organization to go up the corporate ladder. Secondly, confidence. Being able to present and be articulate and eloquent when you communicate with people. I think that's also so important in this male-dominated workplace. And making sure that we sort of take our emotions out of it. And being a typical accountant, everything is very factual and have evidence. Very factual and evidence-based. Because imagine you're dealing with men most of the time. Most of them don't get the emotion side. The very factual level. You've got to talk to them. And you said that in one of your podcasts. You've got to speak to men in their language.
Yes, absolutely.
I think the third point in this male-dominated industry, how do we support ourselves with getting ahead, is being technically competent. Know your area and become a subject matter expert in that area. And then speak about it.
Yeah.
No one's going to speak up for you.
Absolutely.
And demonstrate the amazing work you're doing on a project. You have to be your own cheerleader.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think that what a lot of women kind of forget, it's like the busy working bee and doing all the stuff and doing amazing work, but like forget to promote themselves and to promote their work. And if they put themselves in their boss's shoes and the boss knows everything that your male colleague is doing because they're telling you, and he doesn't know you're the black box, what you're doing, who will he promote? He doesn't have time to have an extensive assessment. So that's not how it works. So who would you promote? Naturally, the man and not the woman. So that's, I think, a very, very valid and important point. And you spoke about, and I'm curious about that, because I think I never had a female mentor, because I find it difficult for women to really support women. I think that's something we have to work on. I think there are a couple of reasons, and I think I was guilty for one of them as well. Not that I didn't support younger females or younger residents at that time, or then colleagues, but we see that at the top there's so few women, and we think that it's only there's space for just one of us. And when you look at you and me, it better be me and not you. And I think that's where men are much better in that networking and helping each other out, so that both or three of them or all of them rise, and not only one. So that's why I'm curious that you said you have women or female mentors as well. So how did you find them, and what did they do differently?
It's not easy to find female mentors that you connect with immediately. So it did take a bit of trial and error until I figured out who were those women in my life that I needed to support me. It's so much easier sometimes to speak to a woman than it is to a man, especially about feelings. So I can really think about the difference in the conversations, because sometimes I'd have the same issue and problem, and I'd go to both the male and the female, and I'd get completely different perspective on how to handle it. And then I'd find out my own way to then handle it. And it was really interesting to see that. But women understand much better because they're in the same shoes as us than men do. And with men, you see it from their perspective, and then you change yourself to communicate to them. I do believe that more women need to help women, for sure. There is something seriously wrong with society where we're not doing enough of that, like the men are. And whether that means more breakfast sessions rather than, late night going out, whether that means a quick lunch session. At EY, we've got many different communities that are there where women are supporting women. And I've seen many women, even in the couple of months I've been there, coming up to me to say, could we do something, an initiative? So you can see there's a big need for it. Yes, for sure, there are not enough women up in senior positions and leadership positions. And we need to figure out how to support the younger women who are entering the workforce to stay within the corporate world to make a difference. Because what I don't want is my daughter having this same conversation in 20 years' time. Because then what did I do? I didn't help in making a difference. So I'm becoming more conscious about it now at this stage in my career to say, what more can I do? And I did that at ACCA. We built a whole Women in Finance forum. We did a lot of recruitment with universities to support with women from entering into the accounting world. But there's still a lot to be done in that area, especially in this region.
Yeah, especially in the region, but because I'm not in the region not as long as you are, and I see the same back in Europe. So I think actually there's not such a big difference. I have experienced maybe a switch in this region compared to back in Europe, that when I came here, obviously I was a senior leader by then, so I was not entry level, but I was much more respected here in this region by men than I was back in Europe. Because back in Europe, regardless if I was the transplant surgeon, if I was the director at Deloitte, or if I was a managing director, everyone was approaching my male colleagues and thinking, if they didn't know me and we entered the room, that they were the ones to talk to. And I was like, okay, I had some time. Obviously, it just takes 5 minutes, but to make clear who the boss is. But they were drawn to speak to my male colleagues. And I found it much easier here. So if I entered the room, even with my male colleagues, it was crystal clear that I was respected, and they, from the get-go, respected that I'm the boss and running the show. So I think that was different, and I was quite surprised when moving here, because I didn't expect that to be, because I had all the biases in the world about this region. And so that was different, but it was obviously more on the senior side than on the junior entering the workforce. So that was the difference I saw.
I would say the career success I have had here, the recognition I have had here by Forbes or the Arabian Business, I would not have got back home in Birmingham. Okay. No ways.
Because there's more competition in the UK, or there's not that much focus on? What do you
There's
think?
not that much focus on it. And you're 100% right. I have always been very well respected in meetings, even if I was in a room full of, and I was the only woman, and there were a room full of men. Respect is big here in this region for women. And it comes from the top down, right? So if you look at Sheikh Mohammed and his vision, if you look at even Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, the vision that they have of getting more women into the workforce, and that's trickling down within government, then within organizations. And it is all about finding a team where you feel respected and you feel listened to. But all of us, most of us, are going to have male bosses.
Of course. Yep. That's still the truth, and that's still the reality.
And we have to figure out a way to communicate to them.
Because I always struggle, or not struggle, but I cringe when women tell me, yeah, I don't need to learn that. I just be me, and that's just who I am, and I will get forward. No, you won't. You get to a certain point, but you won't get any further. And yeah, but we are not so male dominated. Have you had a look at your boss? Have you had a look at the second row? How many women are there? You are male dominated. Yes, not at the entry level. And that's, yeah, there are a lot of females. But when you look at who's running the show, there are not that many women anymore. So it's male dominated. And I think the realization to have and to install in the young women that you have to educate yourself. And as you said, with your 3 learnings, be visible, speak up for yourself, get the confidence, obviously know your stuff and be prepared, and find the right mentors. But get as much knowledge as you possibly can to have all the armor to rise. And I think that's important. So I think it's twofold. One, for us women, that we have to work for it in a certain way. Then it's society, and then it's the bias we all grow up with. So it's, it has to change on many levels, but we can do something about that.
I think also when you go into a meeting with a room full of men, first of all, just sit back, watch and listen. And just watching people is so interesting.
Absolutely.
And you learn so much.
Absolutely.
Watching somebody's body language, facial expressions, how they speak. I mean, there is so much to learn from that. Yep. And then always have a point to say that is valuable, that is adding value to the conversation. Don't just speak for the sake of speaking, but that is backed by facts and evidence, that is demonstrating your technical knowledge in that area. And then make sure that when you speak, you don't go on and on and on and everyone's just disappeared.
Yeah, because they don't listen to you anymore. That's how
15 to 20 words. Everything is about an elevator pitch.
No.
So how long does it take you from the 6th floor to get to the ground floor? And if you can't say it in that time, then you've lost everybody, because that's what everybody's attention span is like.
No, definitely. And you have to, because as you said, know your stuff, know the facts, but then women often tend to like weakening the facts. I think that maybe.
I believe.
Yeah, I believe. Have you thought about it? It might be.
Yeah. Why don't you write all of those words on a piece of paper or in your phone, and before you get into the doors at work, just say, I'm not going to say any of these today.
I had a client and I gave her, because she was of Asian background and they say sorry a lot. So it's all about sorry. So I gave her like, okay, put a Post-it on your laptop and just mark how often you say sorry in a day. And she was like, oh my God, I was an hour in and that Post-it was full. Just a visualization, she was like, oh my God. Yeah, so that's what we have to learn, or what is really important. And I think young women have to practice that as well. So do the focus, practice, and like really be aware of all of that.
I think it's important in the corporate world. You can't just join the boys' club.
No.
And you don't really want to be part of the boys' club.
No, because we are women, and that's beautiful, isn't it?
Exactly. So I always say you need to woman up.
Yeah.
And bring your best, authentic self, but learn how to communicate. That's the key, isn't it? Yeah. And in this region, globally, you need emotional intelligence. That is ever so important. But in this region, you need cultural intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, with all those.
And I go into meetings and I see, British people still being so British. And I'm like, it's a train crash happening. Like literally, you've got to become culturally intelligent and adopt and adapt to this place that we're living in. And I think that is ever so important to be successful in your career.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. I love that. And I think there was so much gold in it. So for everyone who's listening and watching that, please probably rewind and get all of the 3 tips of Fazeela, but it wasn't just 3 because we had a whole lot of more. And I think those are really, really important for us to inspire the generation after us so that your daughter can rise more easily to the top.
Inshallah.
And be inspired by that. Yeah, so thank you so much. It was so lovely to have you and have the chat with you and hear a bit of your career and what drives you and how you shape your career being so successful. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, Dr. Kerstin. I have been listening to your podcast. So you've been in my ears on my AirPods, and I feel very honored to be here. And thank you for this opportunity to allow me to share my story.
No, thank you. And there's much more. Maybe we do a part 2 sometime. So I'd love that as well. So thank you, everyone, for you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it with someone you think it might be of value for them as well. And then like, subscribe, and I see you in the next one.